From a conceptual standpoint. Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you Friday. Hope you're having an unbelievable week. Hopefully, you're moving into this weekend with an expectancy of great things and having completed and accomplished some things, no matter how tough it may have been for some. Understand that you're still in the fight, that there's still work to be done. If you're breathing, it's not over with. So don't take or accept defeat. Do not, whatever you do, quit or turn around. Remember, no surrender, no retreat. I want to talk to you about pretenders. And I think that at some point in our lives, most of us have experienced a point where we were pretending we were okay, pretending we were happy, pretending that everything was going much better than it was. Deep down inside, we knew the truth, but we were pretending. And you got to stop pretending, and not just in being honest with yourself about not being content with where you're at, but being honest with yourself about how committed you are to changing the situation. There is a dangerous place to be in a place where you're pretending to be okay about something you're not really okay about, but you're not committed enough to do anything about it. So you're sitting there and you got most people thinking, hey, you're in a good place, but you know you're not in a good place. But then there's nobody there that can actually give you what you need to get you out of the place, because everybody thinks you're okay except you. And you don't have the commitment or the self-discipline to move out of it. So now you're stuck in a place that you really, truly aren't happy with. And there's this cycle that continues. There's this thing that you consistently go through. You have to stop pretending. Well, what does it start? It starts in your thinking. It starts with being honest with yourself. It starts with an evaluation of your thought processes. What are you thinking? How are you thinking? Why is this so important, Doc? Why do you always talk about thinking? Because there's a principle that says, and it's not just a biblical scripture, it is a universal principle that has existed as far back as you can trace time and thought and philosophy. And it simply says, as a man thinks, so is he. The Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart. Well, when we study the Bible and understand, when the Bible talks about the heart, in Hebrew, the word lev, in Greek, the word cardia, it's not speaking about the heart in the physiological sense. It's not thinking about the heart in what we normally declare in the emotional sense. What it's thinking about is the seat of the soul, the subconscious, the thing that governs 96% of your behavior. So when it says guard your minds and your hearts, and it's talking about something deeper than just uh, emotions. And so it says guard your hearts and minds. And so what you understand, it's talking about the conscious and the subconscious. And when you understand that, it's important. So as a man thinks in the subconscious, as a man thinks below the surface, as those subconscious cognitions are moving around, they're governing and monitoring and managing belief systems. And belief systems are going to govern your behavior. One of the problems that I see is that even when a person understands, well, I need to be thinking different, I need to change my thinking, because we've had a pretty long run of the school of thought that in order to change your life, you must change the way you think. So people understand that. But the problem is, when you've had years and years of taking something on and thinking a particular way, then you have to understand that in the grand scheme of things, that when you start to make that transition, and you're going to do well as long as things are moving smooth and it's not too volatile. But the problem is, the greater the pressure, the greater the stress, the greater the strain, the more you're likely to revert back to the old way of thinking. And so now you start reacting using the old system of engagement, and you wonder why you're not getting results. Well, you're still reacting. What we want to do is get to a point where we're responding. See, reacting means you're moving out of your emotions, normally out of fear, out of anxiety, and sometimes out of anger and frustration, but you're not moving out of a new idea of thought that takes on a new perspective of what you're dealing with and how you need to approach it. You're not managing your perspective. You're not managing your viewpoint. You're simply reacting to the discomfort. And that's not how you move forward in life. If we're honest with ourselves, at some point, all of us were at a point where we're pretending. The goal is to get out of the state of pretending. It's to get out of a pretentious state and to move into a state of true, honest assessment, evaluation, and presentation. In other words, there are a bunch of us that are pretending we're okay, pretending everything's grand, pretending this. And then we get out of that point and we decide, okay, I'm not going to pretend that I'm okay. I'm not okay. But then you start pretending that you really want something different. You start pretending that you really want to start your own company. You start pretending that you really want a better marriage. You start pretending. And people say, what do you mean by pretending? See, pretending, it's that place where you are talking about it, but in no way are you taking action on it. In no way are you living it out. In other words, we have learned that you judge a tree by the fruit it bears. You don't judge a thing by any form of declaration. You simply sit back and you watch what's being done. So when you say you want something different, that should be some work that is representative of what you say you want. That should be some steps being taken. That should be some fruit that are starting to come forth and being born out of the energy, out of the effort, out of the desire, out of the commitment that you say you have to change. Well, the truth is, most are just pretending. You don't really want change because, see, the commitment to change brings about some demands with it. It brings about a demand for sacrifice, a demand for commitment, a demand for a higher work ethic, a demand to, in some senses, alienate people that you hold dear. So it's going to come with some things that make you uncomfortable. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm going to do this. It's time for, but you look up and year after year, you're in the same place because you never made the commitment. You never made the move. Why? Because it was going to take you somewhere and it was going to put you in some uncomfortable situations. Let me tell you something. See, there's going to be this time when your inherited circle, your family and your friends, the circle you were born into, won't be able to see the thing that is implanted in you from a spiritual level, by God, to see something greater than where you've been. See, that's how people who have never experienced something get somewhere. That's what faith is about. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things what? Not seen. So how do I get to something I've never seen before? I got to operate on faith. I got to move in a spiritual plane that the people who are around me that's never seen it aren't going to be able to understand. There are going to be a bunch of people that never, you're going to come from, for those of you that are talking about going and pursuing an academic career, you're coming from a family where no one got a high school diploma. Nobody's going to be able to see you getting a college degree. It's not something they've experienced. It's not something they watch. They may have hoped for it. They may have wished for it. They may want it for you, but they can't see it. So that they're going to behave and act around you based off of their reality. There are some of you out there that comes from families where everybody worked for a living. Nobody's ever had their own job, their own company. Nobody's ever created anything from scratch. And now you're talking about starting a new business, opening a new restaurant, creating a new law firm, and all this. And they're saying, well, no, why don't you go work for this person? Why don't you go work for that person? And you're talking about, no, I got to do it on my, and they don't understand it. And what you're going to do is eventually you're going to have to, if you want to win, you're going to have to be able to set a new standard. A new standard of thinking, a new standard of aspirations, a new standard of expectations, a new standard of behavior, a new standard of what you believe and move. And what's going to happen is it's going to be far beyond what can be fathomed or comprehended by those around you. And you're going to have to be okay with that. You're going to have to find people who believe like you, who think like you, who have been where you're going, who desire to go where you're going, and those who believe enough in you to feel like they can get behind you and follow you into it. You need to build a circle that's built to go where you're trying to go. You can't sit around waiting on people who have never seen what you're trying to do to sit up and become a part of the process of getting you there. And what you're doing is you're sitting in the same space. It's time out for the excuses. It's time out sitting around talking about, well, when this happens, when that happens, there's no perfect timing. You have to take action. I sit up and I watch a bunch of people, they come to me and they talk about what they want, but I'm looking at what you're doing. Don't tell me what you want. Show me what you're willing to do. Show me that you're willing to put some skin in the game. Show me that you're going to be just as committed to you getting somewhere as you're asking me to be. And then we can go somewhere. You can't ask me to be more committed into getting you somewhere than you are committed into getting there. That's not how it works. That's not life. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to do what I said I would do. I find out if you're committed, I will hit you there. If you're committed and you refuse to quit, we're going to get there. We are going to make some things happen. But here's the thing. You got to start being willing to bear fruit. You're going to have to step outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to be willing to go out there and make some things happen. It is simply that serious. Simple. On that note, look, I'm not going to stay long. I just had to bring that to you. It's time to stop pretending. I see so many people talking about what they want to do, but I'm watching you. You're not doing anything. You're talking. It's time to stop pretending. It's time out for the excuses. You don't get there with excuses. You don't get there with good intent. You need good intent to be a part of the process, but good intent alone doesn't do it. Wishing doesn't do it. Proper positive talk alone doesn't do it. Positive thinking alone doesn't do it. At some point in time, you got to sit up and say, this is step one. I'm going to take it. And then I'm going to be committed to finish what I start. You got a bunch of people. My wife was saying this last night. You got a bunch of people out there that start things over and over and over and over and over again and never finish anything because they're not committed. They're looking for an easy win. So they go in because it sounds good. And then they get started and they quit. You got to be committed. Find the thing you're really, truly passionate about. Commit to it and don't let it go. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't turn around. That's how you get there. That is how you get there. You can't sit around thinking that you're going to wish your way into something, that you're going to luck up on something that's going to blow you up and put you away. No, what you're going to have to do is decide, this is who I'm going to be in this life. And that is going to take some work. That is going to take some sacrifice. That is going to take an investment of my time, energy, and effort. And in some ways, sometimes, and at some point, some money. That's just how it is. I'm going to have to be willing to go the distance in making something happen. Stop making excuses for your inactivity. That's not how you're going to get there. And stop blaming everybody else for not being there when you haven't committed to being there. Stop looking outside of yourself because it starts with you. When you truly get tired enough, when it truly becomes so painful for you that you can no longer stay there, you'll move. My thing is, why do you have to wait on the pain when you know that's not where you want to be? That's not where you need to be. That's not where you should be. You should be doing something exceptional, extraordinary, and phenomenal because you have the gifting, you have the capacity, you have the intellect, the genius, and everything else you need to do it, but you're not committed enough. You're not taking action. At the end of the day, no one has the answer for the failure to get there but you. There's always going to be people who don't believe in you. There's always going to be people who are going to try to throw roadblocks and stumbling blocks and obstacles in your way. There's always going to be opposition in your movement. That cannot be the reason why you didn't make it. The reason that you didn't make it is simple. You didn't become committed enough to finish it or to even start it in some instances. Look, I'm about to get off of here. I have 10 spots that I'm holding for people who want to go into 2022 on an unbelievably powerful and strong note, who are willing to dedicate just 30 days to really truly experiencing something exceptional and extraordinary. It's called the 30-day transformation. I have 10 spots. The link is in the box. If you are committed, and only if you are committed, let's make that happen. This is an unbelievable opportunity. I can't explain the depth of what you could experience, but it's got to be something you want. I can't want it for you. But if you do want it and you want to see a difference, let's make it happen. On that note, I am out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day.